What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Sunday watch list. Last week's watch list was really, really good. Pretty much everything hit, starting from QQQ, right? Last week, we were breaking out of this range here, and pretty much I covered that we could potentially fill this gap fill, and we filled the gap fill plus a lot more this week. I hope a lot of you guys were able to execute on last week's watch list. Coming into this week, right, we have a lot of earnings names coming up. We will check it out. We have Tesla on the 23rd, Meta on the 24th, Amazon on the 30th, Microsoft on the 25th, Google on the 25th as well. And we have some of these other smaller names, and we have Visa on the 23rd. A lot of big names. This week's gonna be full of earnings, and typically, sometimes the market could be slow heading into it. There's a lot of indecision. The game plan can change all week, right? If Amazon does good, the market will be up next day. Microsoft does bad, the market will be down one day. So I like to fully wait for everything to really settle down and just for everything to pass for me to be more aggressive. This past week was the week to be aggressive, but getting into the Sunday watch list, there are still some good setups presenting themselves. So let's start off with SPY. Starting off with SPY, right? We also broke down, filled the gap fill. Next demand zone's down here around 490, right? 490 is the next demand zone. As you can see, we have rejection here, a bounce here, and a bounce here. We are a little bit overextended to the downside, so I would like to see a pullback up. Um, at least some type of relief bounce around this 490 area. 490 holds up, we can reclaim 493 and break above this trend line. I think we could get a push back up into 500. And above 500, that's where we start pushing back up to 503, 505. Any reclaim back above this, I think we do start pushing back into 508 and 510. So 508 and then this 510 area, 512 area. So that would be the best scenario for upside, right? We bounce, break and retest this trend line, push above 500 and then push towards that 508, 5. So that's the upside. Could potentially we have two trend lines. Both of them are downtrend, right? Lower highs. And then this one's a lot sharper on this sell-off. Still looking very weak though. So for the downside on SPY, if we do get below 490, if I go to a monthly chart, you'll be able to see that the previous all-time high was around 480 back here, right? And we never really retested it. So I'm expecting a retest of this level. We have the monthly 90 MA there. I definitely see us getting there. Um, so definitely keep an eye. I think that's going to be the best dip by area. So if we break and hold below 490, that gives us room down to 482 and 480. That's going to be a really good move as well. Going into QQ, similar, we're showing a lot of weakness. Next demand zone on QQQ is going to be, well, I'd say like if I go to the monthly on this one, previous all-time high was at 408.5 area, 408.8, let's say. Right, 408.8 was the previous all-time high. Also around this 402, 400 area. I think this is the area that Hughes has room down to. But of course, I don't want to just go short, right? I want to wait for some type of pullback first and then try to catch it down because the move is a little bit extended. Rejections could be around 418 to 416. I'll keep an eye on this level and just see if this trend line continues to hold as a downtrend, right? The trend is your friend, so as long as we're continuing to make lower highs. For the bullish scenario, I want to see this zone reclaim, break and retest, and then give us a push back into 426, 430, and even 435. So that's the bullish scenario, right? Right now, it does look like we're headed lower. We are pretty weak. Going into individual stocks, Apple broke below big demand zone at the 165, 167. Probably has room down to 160s. 160s really is the next target. But some of my favorite setups for the week, let's start off with Microsoft. Microsoft, I really do like because we're in a demand zone as we speak. And it looks like after hours, we were pretty weak. Like we just wanted to break below. Earnings is on Thursday. That's the only thing. A break and retest below this 396 should get us a move down to 394. And really like 390. Yeah, so if you look at this, we're very like the weekly chart looks very, very bearish, right? These are candles that I definitely want to see a pullback first on though. NVIDIA, one of my other favorite setups. Now on a downtrend, kind of like I've covered before, still on a downtrend. See if we draw any trend lines here. We recently broke below this demand zone around 768, 769. I'll be looking for rejections around that area if it can stay below that. If it stays below that, we have room to 743. And NVIDIA has a gap fill below 743 all the way down to 688. So 700, right? Below 743, room down to 700. Um, Bullish scenario here on NVIDIA. If anything, if we do start to get any buyers or any signs of aggression on the buying side, I want to reclaim of this 770 for a move back into 800 and potentially 822. So that's what I'll be watching for the upside on NVIDIA and the downside rejections off that 770 for a move down to 740 and then the gap fill below that. AMD, right, showing a lot of weakness as well. A lot of these AI and chip stocks, like for example, SMCI, chip stocks, AMD, NVIDIA, they were showing a lot of weakness, right? A lot of tech names. Um, Not my favorite setup on AMD just yet. Feel like it is extended. So I'd be watching rejections around 150 for AMD. As long as we stay below 150, this area back here, I will be interested in rejections for AMD. Anything to the upside on it, just reclaims of the trend line. Reclaims of trend lines. Meta also has earnings this week, and we're breaking below a pretty big demand zone. The 480, 488 level have been holding for a while now. As a small gap fill down to 469, about a $10 gap fill, and then below that, really it's like 454 is the target before this big gap fill starts. So we'll see if we do start to come anywhere near that. Tesla very weak as well. We just broke a really big demand zone, right? We've been waiting for price action at the zone for the past couple watch lists, and you can see that we did not, show any signs of buyers stepping in. We broke below it, and really this could have room back down into the 110s. So just something to pay attention to. Netflix is another one of my setups that I do like for this week. Had bad earnings, starting to reverse trend. We have a gap fill to the upside above 580 and a gap fill to the downside below 539. Two gap fills that I would like to trade. Let's see if we can break below this 439 for a push into 505, 502, right? Those are two setup. That's another setup I'm watching. And other than that, that's pretty much going to be a short and simple watch this. I think this is going to change a lot throughout the whole week because of earnings. Another setup, right, that really did really, really well from the last Sunday watch this. It was this head and shoulders that I covered, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We broke below, retested the trend line in confluence with the 1000 level. This was very high probability, came right down to the target. I made a little bit over 2600 on the setup. Could have executed a lot better, right? I missed out on over 16K. But regardless, the analysis is playing out, right? You're trusting your analysis, and over time, it's something you work on, right? But that was like I had a really good week last week. Sunday watches played out, and I hope a lot of you guys were able to capitalize on those moves as well. Keep it safe this week with earnings. Other than that, I hope you guys all have a great trading week.